morning, Stampeders. Welcome to another recap of Mount Madness 2018. We have upgraded our studio here at 55 Woodridge. Big shout out to John Fuquay for recommending a microphone, so we'll give you some better sound quality. We're going to get right into the numbers. Big week in terms of where we were. We were at the round of 32, so we're looking to get to our Sweet 16 today. Sales off a little bit. Want to see if we can't pick this up for these money rounds that are coming up here. But we'll start right off with our top seed, Tom Keefe, going up against Karen Soltero. Tom ends up booking more towards his contest percentage and wins the week. Right down below, tough match, 16-17 seed, Blair versus Welling. Blair did not play. I don't know where Sean was this week, but no mount sales for Sean. Kevin Welling comes up huge and wins going away in that bracket up there. Right down below, we've got Michael Butler, Pete Hurley. Michael Butler, another big week out of him, very consistent, and moves on to the Sweet 16. Our first upset of the day, Brian Marinello in the East, going up against Dave Medina out West, trying to fill those Todd Teachner shoes. Dave pulls off a big upset and moves on to the Sweet 16, where he'll have a matchup against Michael Butler next week. The matchup everyone anticipated, last year's champ John Martin at 29 seed. He was a little bit of an underdog coming in here, had a big target going up against Dan Hartman. Hartman does take that one and moves on to the Sweet 16 again. Another upset in the making, Mark Tuzo, heavy favorite. A lot of people picked him along the way. Goes down to a new guy. Brian Levine comes in and whoops on old Mark Tuzo. Sorry to say, old man, you went down. Moving on to Dave Brunner, Brynja Levesque. Dave, astounding, is putting up some big numbers in the hospitality mounts. He's putting out some huge numbers in there. Dave was one of our top three winners this week. We'll go over that at the end, but Dave Brunner, I only knew him as the angry guy that scowls at me while he's walking on the treadmill in the gym, but he does actually sell some mounts in that hospitality division as well. Our number 5 seed, Randy Williams, going up against Michael Bagan, and Randy holds through to make it through to the Sweet 16. Jumping over onto the other side of the bracket, we had our number 2 seed and underdog, Lee Smith, coming in. She was facing the wily Canadian Sid Benjamin. Lee wins that one. Again, another strong week for Lee, but has her work cut out for her next week. Chip Owen versus Cammie Mills. Chip wrote 542% of his weekly target this week. Crushed it. Some big Mustang numbers. Who knew that Chip still had it in him, but he is going up against Lee. It's our 2 seed versus our 15 seed next week to see who wins that one. Right down below that, we had Bob Aarons against Jim Hathaway. Jim always puts up some strong numbers in the contest, but Bob had it going away. Another Canadian, Manser, going up against Jimmy Leibold. Manser was just too much for the toddler to take this week, so Manser moves on. He will face Bob next week in the Sweet 16 matchup. Down below that, Grant Hill, number 3 seed overall, up against another powerhouse from the West Coast, Mick Gilchrist. This was actually our closest match. Only about 3 percentage points separated the two of them, but Grant does move on to the Sweet 16. Another small upset, Chad Harrison at number 14, Chris Lubick, number 19 seed. Chad, I have to ask you a question. How did you lose to Chris Lubick? He sells to one account, but that one account bought some Mustang this week and moves Chris on to the Sweet 16. Brings us down to our final section of the bracket, Fia versus Christina Rebich. Christina put up some pretty good numbers, but Fia crushed it this week. He was a little down last week, came back big this week, makes it onto the Sweet 16. And then our final matchup, Rich Swartz versus David Starcher. Rich put some numbers in, but David barely showed up. I think we may have to send Tom Cavanaugh down to Columbus to do a wellness check on that office to make sure Blair and Starcher are alive, because they barely showed a pulse this past week. Rounding out our top 3 in terms of percentage, Scott McDougal, who's not in the bracket. Scott was 164% of his target for the week. Dave Brunner, 228% of his target. And as mentioned before, Chip Owen, 542%. Hey, I wrote 542% of my goal. That's awesome. Chip, great job this week. Everyone, we are a week away from getting into the Elite Eight. The matchups are going underway right now. Everyone got their bracket in last week, so a lot of people betting heavy on Hartman for this. Who knows how it'll play out. Thanks once again. Always shout out to Tom here for manning the electronics, John Fuquay for getting us this sweet microphone to do the video with.